Today we're starting our unit on measurement. You're going to need some materials to complete today's activities. You're going to need from your material pickup your ruler that's in there, as well as your pack that says measurement unit materials. You're going to need those two things today. And we're going to start off by talking about your ruler. So go ahead and take a minute just to look at your ruler. Think about what you're noticing. What do you see? Hopefully you noticed that there are two sides to your ruler. One side has numbers that are spaced out further than the other side. And that's because these are two different units of measurement. The ones that are spaced apart are inches. That tends to be what we use in the United States. We use inches, feet, yards. The other side is centimeters, and that's what a lot of the rest of the world uses to measure. So that's why the ruler has both, because you can measure in inches or centimeters. Now this week we're going to focus on inches, but we will be getting to centimeters, and we'll be using the other side of your ruler as we go through this unit together. So a couple of things. You may notice that on the end of your ruler there's a little bit of extra space. Do you see that? It's going to be really important that when you measure things, you line it up with the 0 and not the very end of your ruler, because then it's not a real inch. It's probably more like 1.25 inches. So we've got to start right at the 0. We always want to start at the 0. We don't want to start at the 1, because then we'll get confused with how many inches we're truly measuring. So here's some measuring tips, and these are in your packet as well, so you can refer back to them. Tip number 1 is to make sure you're using the correct side of the ruler or tool. Okay, that's important. So remember inches and centimeters. And if you forget, on the centimeter side, it should say cm for centimeter. That's important. We've got to use the right side. The second tip is to line the edge of the object with the end of the ruler or on 0. I would like for you to do that with 0, unless your ruler happens to be right on that 0, but most of them leave a little extra space just in case some gets worn down. So 0, line up with the 0. Find where the object stops, look at the nearest number to find the measurement. So the things that we're going to be measuring might not be exact in terms of inches. They might not end correctly right on an inch mark. So you're just going to look, find the number that's closest, and then you're going to use that. So we're going to do a little bit of practicing measuring things. I'm going to measure this box of markers, and just like the tips told me, I'm going to make sure that I'm using the correct side, which for this week is inches. I'm going to line up the object, actually I'll do it on here, at the 0, not at the end, but at the 0. And then I'm going to look across and find which number is closest to the end of my object. And in this case, it is 6. So I can say that my markers are 6 inches wide. 6 inches wide. So we can measure a few different things on an object. We can measure its width, which is how wide it is. We can measure its height, which is how tall it is, or its depth, which is how far it goes back. So we could say that this is 6 inches wide. And now I'm going to flip it. Again, I'm going to follow these same rules though. Line it up with the 0. Look for the closest one. This one is between 5 and 6. It's really close to 5.5, but since it's on the other side, I'm going to round up to 6. So I can say it's 6 inches high. And then this would be the depth. And on this one, it's about 1/2 inch deep, but it does go past, so I could just round up to 1, or yeah, in this case, I'd have to round up to 1 inch because it is on the other side of that 1/2 inch mark, okay? This one might be a better side to use centimeters with if I was getting to pick, just because it is pretty tiny. So remember to use the right side of your ruler, line up with the 0, find the nearest number, and that's how you can measure the objects that you're going to measure. So today, what you're going to do is in your materials, your measurement unit materials, there's your tips. You are going to measure these lines with your ruler. So in inches, you're going to line up with the 0 and then see which one it gets closest to, what number it's closest to. And then you're going to record that in schoolwork on a page that looks like this. So line A, I would write 6 inches. And then I would find B and I would measure that, and so on. So that's the first thing you're going to do, is just practice measuring. The second thing you're going to do, there's 2 pages of that. The second thing you're going to do is you are going to actually measure out using your pencil 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches, and 6 inches. So you'll take your pencil and draw a line from the dot to the 1 inch mark, or the dot, this one says 2, so I'm going to go to the 2 inch mark, and so on. So those are the 2 activities that you're going to do today to practice using your ruler in inches.